Welcome to HooptieDoodle's Goldwing bobber build. Today I'm going to work on changing the timing belt or putting new timing belts on the engine of my Goldwing GL1100. Now I've already got my engine out of the bike, clearly. So there are a number of steps previous to this in order to get to the timing belt. It can be done on the bike. You have to remove the radiator and parts of the cooling system in order to get to this. And of course there are covers that go over the top of this guy as well, which I've also already removed. So this is just the basics. And if you're contemplating doing a timing belt change anyways, taking off the stuff in front of the timing belt is probably not your concern. The most important part of this job is making sure everything's aligned so that the timing on the engine is correct. If not, this is a zero clearance motor. Emphasis on this is a zero clearance motor, and that's important because if you get the timing off on this at all, you can ruin the engine. You can't really repair these engines so much because the bearings for the rods and cranks and everything are not much available. And so that's something to consider. So if you're doing this job, it's highly important that you do it correctly and get everything aligned correctly. Once you got to this point though, where the timing belt is accessible, your first step is going to be locating the timing marks and making sure everything is aligned before you take off anything further. There's a timing mark on the actual crankshaft itself, and you can access that mark via a cap on top of the engine. And that's this cap right here. So if you got a large screwdriver or something like that, you can get in here. And then the other thing you're going to want to do is go to the back of the engine where the alternator is. There's another cap right here. You're going to remove this guy. Inside there is a 12mm head on there. And this guy allows you to rotate the engine. And you're going to need to do that to align the engine. So I can get in here, I can rotate this guy. I can watch down here and look at the timing marks on the crankshaft. And see there's a few marks on this crankshaft right here. You can see there's an F, 2, T. All right, that's not the one you want. So we keep rotating. All right, now you've got an F, 1, T. That's what you want. And you line up, you can see the T has 2 hash marks on either side of it, and there's also 2 hash marks on the side of the case. There's a mark there and a mark there. That's what you're lining up. That's lined up perfectly, looking straight down on it. So that's aligned, and then you move back to the front of the engine. You've got, this is your crank pulley right there. You've got idler bearings right here and right here. This is the camshaft pulley on the left side of the engine. This is the camshaft pulley on the right side of the engine. All right, so this is a great example. You look at, and on these pulleys, you can see right here, there is a mark that says up, but it's pointed down. It's pointed down right now. And there's also a little R right here. And that's also upside down. That's bad. You don't want it upside down. We look at the other one over here, and it's the same story. There's an up mark right there, but it's upside down. So that means we need to rotate the engine again. So let's go back to the crankshaft. I'm rotating this all the way around again until I get back to that T1 mark. All right, there's the T1 mark lined up. Let's go back to the front. All right, now back on the front of the engine, looking at these alignment marks again. All right, now you can see the up mark is at the top of the engine. That's where you want it. Letter R there, also upright and readable. So that's where you want those. Looking at the left side, you've also got the up mark right here is at the top of the engine. That's where it should be. Now, if we look at the right side of the engine, you're also looking for alignment marks, and it's the same way on the left side too. You've got your up mark right side up so you can read it, and then it's also at the top of the engine. And then over here we've got our R is right side up as well, And then there are some alignment marks on the side of the camshaft. There's a raised line right here. Feel that with my finger. And then right next to that, or on the backing cover for the engine here, there is another mark right there, which you can see clearly. And those two should be aligned like they are right now. That is how it's supposed to be. Your engine is now aligned. So now we've got everything on the engine aligned the way it's supposed to be. The timing mark on the crankshaft is at that T1. The alignment marks on both of the camshafts are aligned with the case as well. The up mark is at the top of the engine. Now we can take the timing belts off. And in order to do that, we have to loosen up these idler bearings. So these are also 12mm heads on these bolts here. There are 2 bolts, and there's a spring too on this guy. So I'm gonna loosen this bolt here. And I'm going to take this off completely because I'm going to replace this bearing while I'm in here as well. You can no longer buy these idler bearings from the factory or anywhere in the aftermarket for this engine. So the solution is we have to adapt bearings from another vehicle. And I'll have a link to that in the description of this video, to the video explaining how to do that. The end result is this bearing here. You'll notice on the old bearing though, that this one is permanently attached to the bracket on the back here, whereas this one has a bolt running through it, so you can swap out the bearings at any point in the future if you need to. My recommendation is that if you're in here doing the timing belts, you should swap out the idler bearings as well, because the bearings do wear out at about the same pace as the timing belt. So then just go ahead and remove the timing belt. You'll notice that this did move a little bit. Let's make sure it goes back there when I put the new belt in. Alright, so my next step on my timing belt change is to install my new idler bearings here. So starting with the one on the left side here is, I'm going to install my little spring. Put the bolt in on the one side. And install the bolt on the other side. Attach my spring to the top here, and I'm just loosely attaching these bolts at this point. And then now I've got my 2 brand new timing belts right here. Alright, so the way I'm doing this is go ahead and put this timing belt on here first because it's in the back part of the pulley here. This setup right here, put that guy on the back side. Then put the one on the front side, and then I have found it easier to start with the one on the front side and get this guy lined up here with the marks. Repeatedly check my timing mark back here, make sure that's aligned, then come up here, make sure our marks are aligned up here. Let's check over here. Alright, so our timing marks are lining up the way they're supposed to. Over there are supposed to line up. This mark and this mark is supposed to line up. So those 2 line up. These marks here are supposed to line up. So those look good, and now it's a question, now I gotta get this guy on. So I got my timing marks lined up here, and now, and the belt fits in the teeth. Get it as tight as I can through here. And go ahead and wrap it around the camshaft, and then get it on my and there we go. Belts are on. My bolts here are still loose. I'm gonna go ahead and check my timing marks again. That one looks perfect. That one looks perfect. And this one up here looks perfect. I'm super excited that everything lines up. I'm gonna go ahead and recheck everything again for like the 4th time, just because it's that important. Oh my God. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead, tighten down these bolts, and then we'll rotate the engine and we'll check it again. I'm just tightening these down snug. They do thread into aluminum, so they can't be tightened down too much. Does it give me specs in here? I don't have any torque specs in here. All right, the almost final step is Because this side, on the right side of the engine, this right camshaft pulley, it wants to torque that way, and it results in this guy being loose. So before you tighten down these bolts here, you want to put a wrench on here, put tension so that this is nice and tight there, then simultaneously tighten down these guys. Good tension, perfect, perfect, perfect. Everything is aligned the way it's supposed to be. I'm going to go ahead and rotate the engine now, and we'll check our timing marks again. All right, I'm happy with that. Put my cap back on here. My cap back up here on my timing mark cover. Well, thanks for watching this episode. That's a simple job in theory. It's just a bit stressful because if you get it wrong, it has dire consequences. But if you do exactly what I did in this video, you should be good. Especially at the end, rotating the engine and making sure everything feels good. You'll know if something's colliding, it should rotate freely. There are some compression spots where it gets tighter and then it loosens up again. But there shouldn't be any just jamming spots in the rotations. You'll know if it's off, and you can check your timing marks again. You can never check your timing marks too many times. So if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a lot, and we've always got something going on here in HooptieDoodleville. And as I always say, keep on wrenching.